Welcome back. This is Elaine and Dennis, and we are doing the phase 2-3 figures in the waltz, round dance level, phase 2-3, and we'll be hitting on phase 4 figures as well. But today we are doing a dance called Send Me Down to Tucson. Mel Till is singing this. It was written by Betty Skillett back in 2009. And before we do that dance, we're going to review some of the figures that are in it that have been looked at in earlier lessons, but I just want to show them quickly, and I'll say which lessons they're reviewed in or first taught in. And then you can always go back to those lessons and look at them. One of them is a spin overturn. Now, we've been doing the spin turns. And now a spin turn typically starts from closed position. I'm going to say that's line of dance, so I'm facing reverse. And it's a bit of a pivoting action. Back, pivot around, and then I pull her back again. Okay? That being done, after that, we typically have a box finish, a box back. But that is a spin turn. And in teaching the spin turn, I also mentioned that we should try and turn it just a little bit more to do a proper spin turn. So if that's line of dance, I'm facing reverse. I'm going to turn completely around, but I also want to turn a little bit more to get that diagonal between the line of dance and the wall. And that would be a proper spin turn. All right, so if you hear it cued spin turn, the cuer is actually expecting you to turn that far. So with a spin turn step, pivot around and turn just a little bit more on the toe of your right foot before stepping back and bringing the lady with you. Let's turn it around. Let's say that's line of dance, okay? We'll see it from the other perspective. So spin turn, back, pivot around, step back. And so that being reversed, I'm actually facing at that diagonal, and we can finish with a half a box back. Okay? Now, what follows typically may be a half a box back. So that implies that the cue's next figure will want to direct you in the direction of line of dance. Okay? If the cuer cues box finish, so if she cues or he cues box finish, we actually do a half a box back, but we turn it a quarter to the left. So now we are facing somewhere between line of dance and the wall. Typically after that, our next figures might be like a diamond turn or 2 left turns or something of that nature. Okay, so that is a spin turn. Now in this song we have what's cued as a spin overturn. Some cues cue an over spin turn. So it's a spin turn where you turn a little bit more than a spin turn. Actually, you turn an extra quarter. You almost get around 360 degrees. So that takes some doing. So don't worry if you don't get around 360. Just get around as far as you can. But definitely more than halfway. So here I am. That's line of dance. I'm going to cue spin overturn. 1, 2, 3. That wasn't right. Yeah, that's line of dance. I shouldn't have been facing line of dance. Shame on me. I should be facing reverse. I did it right. Wrong intention. All right, so I'm going to cue spin overturn. That's line of dance. 1, 2, 3. You see how far I got around? Now with a box finish, I take that quarter turn, and I am now somewhere between line of dance and the wall. All right? I tell you what, let me start with me facing the camera. Line of dance is directly behind me. Ready? Spin over, turn, go. 1, 2, 3. Box finish, back, side, close. Okay? So with that spin over turn, I almost turned back to facing the camera, but not quite. A good way to be able to do a spin over turn is have a nice floor that'll allow you to spin a little bit and a good pair of dance shoes. Okay? Otherwise, do the best you can. If you can't get around that far, and the cue says spin overturn, let's say I'm only able to go a little bit more than halfway. All right? I can't get around to facing toward the camera. Spin overturn, but I only get this far. So if they cue box finish, don't do a turn. Just do a box back. Very often the cue will say box finish to face line of dance or somewhere in that direction. Okay? So look to turn it enough so that you can face the direction that you're ready for the next cue. All right? So, and then anyway, that is a spin overturn. Almost always followed by a box finish. Almost always. Certainly at our level, phase 3, 4, you will hear it followed by a box finish. All right? Anyway, after that we have a wing. I'm not sure if I covered that at all. A wing is like a pickup to sidecar. So if I cued, let's say we're in this position and your line of dance. If I cued hover, let's say a whisk, I'll cue a whisk. Step, side, hook. If I said wing, the man really just takes one step, while the lady, he brings her around to sidecar. 1, 2, 3. All right? It looks like we're close, but we're really in sidecar. As you can see, I'm looking over her left shoulder. Very often at this level of round dancing, we'll do hovers. H-O-V-E-R. Not to get confused by my accent. We will do hovers to different position. We can do a hover to banjo, step, rise, recover. A hover to back to sidecar, step, rise, recover. And then a hover, we can go back to banjo, or we can go to semi. Step, rise, recover. All right? Hovers were also covered in an earlier lesson, but I figured, well, yeah, the basic hover was covered in an earlier lesson. A basic standard hover that we do most often in a phase 3 level is we start with a box step, rise, recover, and then we're ready to go in this position to do a through and chassé. But here we are doing what we refer to as cross hovers. I suppose I don't have to put the word cross in front. We are doing the standard hover to another position. So you'll hear the cue say, cross hover to banjo, cross hover to sidecar, cross hover to banjo again. Okay? And so, right, we're not doing a twinkle, we're not closing our feet. It's a step, rise, and recover. Okay? Now, cross hovers, lost my train of thought, thank you. It doesn't take much lately to lose my train of thought. But yes, we refer to these as cross hovers. So the cue might say, pick up, we'll do a whisk, a wing, we'll do a wing to sidecar. And now we will do cross hovers. Cross hover to banjo, cross hover, back to sidecar, cross hover to semi. All right? And that is very common in many of the dances that we do. Just that combination. Wing, or it doesn't have to be a wing. It could be a pickup to sidecar. And then once we get into that sidecar position, we do cross hovers. It might be after a box back or a box finish from doing a spin turn. Okay, let's show that. Here I'm facing reverse. The camera is line of dance. So I will do, let's say, we'll do an overspin turn, box finish, cross hovers. Okay? And then end up in semi and step through to do a chassé or something. Okay? So that's cross hover, box finish. I should have said box finish, go to sidecar. And then it would be better prepare you to do cross hovers. When we do a box finish, and I say go to sidecar, we're going to start with our trailing foot. When we do that box finish, I'll say go to sidecar, back, side, close, and we're kind of going into sidecar at the very end of the last step. In other words, as we do the box back, don't go to sidecar. Wait till the very last step. Remember, it's box back to sidecar, not box. Go to sidecar and do a box back. Okay? So do the figure at the very end, blend to that other position, so we're ready to go with the next figure. So anyway, those are cross hovers. Let's practice a little bit with the music. Cross hovers, okay? Up hard point, pick up, 2 left turns, face the wall, whisk, wing, cross hovers, 1, 2, go to semi, maneuver, spin turn, box back, go to sidecar, cross hovers, 2, stay in banjo now, maneuver, spin turn, box back, go to sidecar, cross hovers, to banjo, sidecar, back to banjo, through face close, forward face close, box, hover, pick up, go to sidecar, cross hovers, this time go to semi, pick up, 2 left turns, hover, maneuver, impetus semi, through chassé to semi, through chassé to semi, pick up, sidecar, cross hovers, maneuver, impetus semi, through chassé to semi, through chassé to semi, maneuver, spin turn, box finish, go to sidecar, cross hovers, to semi, through chassé to semi, through chassé to banjo, forward, forward lock forward, maneuver, spin turn, box back, go to sidecar, cross hovers, to semi, through chassé to semi, through chassé semi, maneuver, spin turn, box back, go to sidecar, cross hovers, cross hover to banjo, maneuver, spin turn, and box back, and we'll step apart, and we'll continue. I think that's enough practice with that, and we'll see what else is left really to do before this dance. Whisk, wing, spin over turn we reviewed. Diamond turn, I don't need to review diamond turn, but enough to say that the direction you start a diamond turn, like a left turning box, you finish facing that same direction. I know people had issues with left turning box. Sometimes we start, let's say your line of dance, and I cue left turning box. Very often I see, especially if you're a new dancer, you'll do a left turning box, but you'll finish facing the wall because that seems to be the natural way of doing things. But if you start on left turning box with the man facing line of dance and the lady facing reverse, that's where you should finish. The same with a diamond turn. With a diamond turn, if we start a diamond turn, facing typically, a diamond turn will start at a little bit of a diagonal. If the camera's line of dance, the diagonal slightly towards center. And we started a diamond turn, forward, side, back, back, side, forward, forward, side, back, back, side, forward. All right? Now in many dances, and I think it's typical even in this dance, after the diamond turn, we have 2 left turns. So after the diamond turn, get her in closed position. As you saw when I just did the diamond turn, we ended up in banjo, which is where we kind of started. You know, when we start a diamond turn, you can be enclosed. You just blend the banjo a little bit and keep her there. All right? Now when we're finishing, we can stay in banjo, or as I finish, back, turn, close, we can blend back to close. It depends upon the figure that comes next. But I think you need to realize that many dances have you ending in sidecar so you can do those progressive hovers. So as you're doing that box back, keep her going a little bit more to the sidecar position. How you do that is as you take that back step, instead of doing a normal side close to finish, which would be a step here, you would just take a small step and close while the lady continues over more. So let's see that. All right, I tell you what, we'll start at this. This will be line of dance, okay? So we will do a diamond turn. 1, 2, 3, back. Forward for the men, back for the ladies. And now we'll finish. And I gradually bring her over. Did I say that was line of dance? All right, so we should have finished that way. I'm going to do it again. All right, this is line of dance. Ready? Diamond turn. Side. There's that diagonal, there's that one, and there's this one. And now we're all set to do cross hovers. And whatever comes next. Okay? Anyway, that's what's in the dance. So we are going to do a dance right now. And I already announced it. It was Send Me Down to Tucson. Oh, through, side, behind, and roll 3. That was covered in lesson 12. If you want to look back on it, but we'll just show it briefly now. A through, side, behind. What is it preceded by? In this particular dance, it's preceded by those cross hovers. The cross hover to semi. So we're going to be in semi. We'll start by the camera being reverse line of dance. All right, we just did cross hovers. We can do that now. Cross hover to banjo, to sidecar, and to semi. Now we'll do a through, side, behind. So it's a through step. We turn the face, go sideways, and then we go behind. Through, side, behind. Self-explanatory. We're kind of winding up for the big push, the big roll down line, okay? So we're ready, and we're going to push down line. We'll push each other. 1, 2, 3. All right? Now the next figure could be through face close. It could be maneuver, it could be pick up, it could be a few other figures because we're starting, it could be a through and chassé. What is it on here? It's a pickup. We go into a diamond turn. Okay, so that follows the roll 3. We have our trailing foot free. We can go into so many figures, but we'll pick up and do a diamond turn. So let's do it in that direction. All right, so we're going to do cross hovers, cross hover to banjo, cross hover to sidecar, cross hover to semi, through side behind, roll 3, pick up, diamond turn. Okay? All right, so give me a second. I'm going to change the music. And we'll do Send Me Down to Tucson. Before we get to the Meltilus song, we need to look at a few figures that are in it. Phase 4 figure, such as Telemark. I look at Telemark as being a sharp right turn to semi. It is a left turn. Thank you. Left turn to semi. Now, with that left turn, the lady is turning a little bit more than a quarter, not as much. The man is doing a lot of the reach because it's a left turn. And after the left turn, he opens up to semi. So in other words, if I started in this closed position, at the end of the left turn, he is facing this way. So as you can see, the lady turns a little bit more than a quarter, but I need to get around. I'm not staying in this position, but rather I'm opening up. Sometimes this is cued as an open telemark. Sometimes it's cued as a telemark to semi-close or telemark to semi. It starts typically with the lead foot. So as you can watch Elaine, she will step back, bring her feet together, pivot on her heel, and then step forward. All right? Watch it again. Step back, pivot, and forward. Now, she accentuated the pivot on the heel. What you're really doing is as you pivot, you're transitioning the weight from one foot to the other foot. Okay? The man, on the other hand, as he reaches forward, while the lady pivots on her heel, he's going to reach past her and around her. And then he pivots or swivels, swings it around on the toe of his trailing foot. He pushes off and then steps forward. It's a lot easier when you have a partner, then you don't get off balance. Okay? So watch it again. He steps forward as she steps back. As she has her feet together, pivots around, he reaches, and then you both step forward with your lead foot while you're in semi. Okay? So, this is a telemark to semi, sometimes cued as an open telemark. Step, reach, and then both of you step forward into semi together. That is the wall, so you're stepping a little bit beyond, more toward, somewhere between the wall and line of dance. All right? Let's do it from going in this direction. All right? The camera is now line of dance. We'll do a telemark to semi. Step, reach, pivot, and then step forward again. And we're ready to go. Okay? So, what can we do? Well, from this position, we can do a through face close. We can do a maneuver. We can do a pickup. We can do a weave, but we won't go there yet. Okay? So let's put on some music. For now, we'll just do a through face close. And we'll dance just a little bit. We'll start from closed position, facing the wall. We will hover, pick up, telemark to semi, through face close. Hover, pick up, telemark to semi, through face close, box, hover, maneuver, 2 right turns, hover, pick up, telemark to semi, through face close, hover last time, pick up, telemark to semi, through face close. All right. Now we'll switch gears and add another figure to it. Let me shut the music off. All right. So we'll try a couple of other figures now. So now we'll try and put what follows the telemark in this dance. And that's a fallaway and a slip pivot to banjo. The fallaway is done in semi-closed position, okay? Typically, we just did a telemark, but it doesn't have to have been a telemark to follow, to precede it, rather. It could be any figure which would allow you to be in semi with our trailing foot. And impetus to semi would also put us in the correct position as well. So, anyway, we're in this position. We have our trailing foot free. Our momentum is coming this way. If you remember now, we just did a telemark to semi, step, turn, and we're stepping forward. So we're going this way. We have our trailing foot free. Our fallaway, we are just going to stay in semi and go up and back. All right, we'll take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, step, rise, recover. Now, as you saw, we did a rise and recover, typical hover action. You will hear this cued as a hover fall away. So let's get over here in the center. Ready? Trailing foot, hover fall away, step, rise, recover. Now, in many waltzes, the cue will precede the hover fall away words with the word natural, which will be a turn to the right. Okay? So if we were to do a natural hover fall away, we would still do the hover fall away, except we would turn to our right. Okay? So that is a natural hover fall away. So if we started from a telemark, my back to the camera, line of dance is away from the camera. We'll do a telemark to semi, also cued as an open telemark, and a natural hover fall away. Okay? I could cue an impetus to semi. Line of dance is still behind me, away from the camera. I will do an impetus, natural hover fall away, step, rise, recover. All right? 2 ways to get into that position. So for now, we will follow the natural hover fall away with a figure called a slip pivot to banjo. In most of the stuff that we do at this level, phase 3, the slip pivot to banjo will follow a natural hover fall away. Okay, so what is a slip pivot to banjo? Excuse me. So we just did a hover fall away. Step, rise, recover. So as we step back, my part in the slip pivot to banjo will be a back step with another slightly to the back, and then a forward step, slight turning motion to the left. You don't have to turn, but it is part of the movement. Okay? So I just did a fall away. I'm starting with my lead foot, back, step, and then step forward to the left slightly. The lady's got a tough part there. All right, she's going to step back and cross really, as she twists, what?
Slip pivot to banjo.
The slip pivot to banjo, I'm sorry. On the slip pivot to banjo, it might be easier if you do it. So we're starting in this position. We do a Fallaway. Now she will step back slowly. She'll turn and step. If you'll notice, she'll be placing her left foot next to my right foot.
I'm pivoting and my legs are together.
She's pivoting and her legs are together.
Transfer
And then we both step to the side and forward a little back for the lady. Okay? So here we are. We'll start with the slip pivot. Or slip pivot, I'm sorry, Fallaway. Now we do the slip pivot. Back, twist, turn, and forward. Okay?
3 changes of weight.
3 changes of weight. 1, 2, 3. You are taking 3 steps. There's a little pivoting action on, is it your right foot?
My right foot.
Your lead foot. Okay? So let's keep your knees together. Lock your legs as they turn. Lock those legs. Okay? Watch it again. We'll start with the Fallaway. Slip pivot to banjo. Back, turn, and then step. Okay? And we will follow that in this dance with a Telemark. Now you can cheat a little bit. If you have a hard time with that twist in action, you can do a back hover to banjo. Don't get into that habit too much. As soon as you can correct it and do it correctly, you'll feel better about other dances because, like I said, that combination of figures is in a lot of dances. Now, what I mean by the back hover would be if we did a Fallaway, forward, up, and back. A back hover to banjo would be step, step, rock, and recover. Okay? And that would be a back hover to banjo. It'll get you the same place, but it might be easier for some people to do if you have a problem with a slip pivot. Okay? So again, one last time with the slip pivot. We'll precede it with a Fallaway. Well, I tell you what, let's do a Telemark. So we start facing line of dance. The camera is facing reverse, or toward reverse rather. We will do a Telemark to semi, natural hover Fallaway, slip pivot to banjo, and then I think a maneuver. Because this dance that we will do has 2 right turns, I think, that follows. Anyway, I could put a little music on. We could practice it. Let's do that. A little practice music, please. We're starting close with a Telemark. Ready? Telemark semi. Natural hover Fallaway. Slip pivot to banjo. Maneuver. 2 right turns. Twirl vine. Step through, pick her up. Telemark semi. Natural hover Fallaway. Slip pivot to banjo. Maneuver. Impetus semi. Hover Fallaway. Slip pivot to banjo. Maneuver. Spin turn. Half a box back. Telemark to semi. Natural hover Fallaway. Slip pivot to banjo. Maneuver. Impetus semi. Natural hover Fallaway. Slip pivot to banjo. Maneuver. Spin turn. Box back. Box. Hover last time. Pick up. Telemark semi. Natural hover Fallaway. Slip pivot. Maneuver. And we'll stop right there. All right? So, take a moment. We'll get a quick drink of water. I'll change the music. And we will dance Send Me Down to Tucson. Send Me Down to Tucson. Waltz Phase 3. And it also has Diamond Turn and a Telemark to Semi. 2 Phase 4 figures. Start in Butterfly, Man Facing the Wall. Music starts in 3, 2. Apart point. Pick up. Left turn. Back up. 2 right turns. 12-I. Maneuver. Spin over turn. Box finish. Whisk. Wing. Cross hovers, 3 of them. To semi. Through side behind. Roll 3. Pick up. Left turn. Back up. 2 right turns. 12-I. Maneuver. Spin over turn. Box finish. Whisk. Wing. Cross hovers. We spent together. To semi. Through side behind. Roll. Pick up. Diamond turn. Send me down to Tucson, and I'll get the job. 2 left turns. And call up the one. 12-I. Love is free. Pick up. Sidecar. Cross hovers. She made me easy. To semi. Through Chassé to semi. Through Chassé to semi. Maneuver. Spin turn. Box finish. Diamond turn. Left turn. Back up. 2 right turns. 12-I. Maneuver. Spin over turn. Box finish. Whisk. Wing. Cross hovers. She gets excited. To semi. Through side behind. Roll. Pick up. Left turn. Back up. 2 right turns. 12-I. Maneuver. Spin over turn. Box finish. Whisk. Wing. Cross hovers. And she'd be the kind of lady to semi. Through side behind. Roll. Pick up. Diamond turn. Send me down to Tucson, and I'll get the job. 2 left turns. And call it the one. 12-I. Love is free. Pick up. Sidecar. Cross hovers. She made me easy. To semi. Through Chassé to semi. Through Chassé to semi. Maneuver. Spin turn. Box finish. Telemark semi. Fallaway. Slip to Banjo. Maneuver. 2 right turns. 12-I. Man roll across. Lady roll across. Through face closed. 12-I. Through an apart point. Send Me Down to Tucson. Good song, good music. And we did a lot with the Telemark, the slip pivot, with the Fallaway, Telemark, Fallaway, slip pivot. Practice that sequence. Even if it happened only once in that dance, you'll see it a lot in other dances and dances. Anyway, this is Elaine and Dennis from Gloversville, New York, with the Shoe Leather Express, and we hope to see you on the dance floor somewhere.